Greetings and blessings to you all. This is Al-Beik. It's Sunday, November 15th, 2:14 p.m. And this is our first video from Light Guide. The goal here is to just try something different, and it may stick with it or maybe not stick with it. And today's topic is about anxiety. It's come up multiple times this month alone, even though it's just been half the month. Anxiety is something that a lot of people are going through because of their contracts outside of them. What's within you is the only things that you have truly control over. Anxiety is about certain events that are about to occur or is occurring that you have no control over the outcome and it doesn't match your desires. And because of that, the value that you put into the outcome outside of yourself is kind of dying out, and there's nothing to revive that. That can happen in many ways. A lot of people out there have foundational ideas. They have certain contracts with beliefs, ideas, family, friends, relationships, that they want it to be a certain way. They want certain things outside of them to be a certain way. And in many cases, they are waiting for those things to be that way, or they put a lot of effort to try to change it so it is that way, so they can able to be happy or joyful. The reality is that the dependency is, at the end of the day, is not really needed. If you needed anything outside of you, it's really there to enhance you. Meaning, it's offering you information that you can take within yourself and enhance yourself with it. So it's not so much that you are being helped by the world or you're helping the world. It is that there's only guidance happening from both sides of the equation. The help actually has to happen within yourself. You're the only person, the only individual, the only being who can help themselves. The issue here comes down to the confusion of guiding and helping. Anxiety arises from the idea also that there's help outside coming to you. And if that doesn't come, you feel like, I don't know what I can do. Some anxieties are based on concepts or outcomes that could be outdated or an old paradigm, or something doesn't really actually fit you to be really, but most likely habitual, stuck with it. We'll take a simple example like coffee. I think that's a common thing. There are certain businesses out there who are very popular with this. Every person out there enjoys coffee. Why and how they have coffee varies in many ways. If it's habitual, if it's something that is part of your subconscious, it's unconscious to you actually, not even subconscious, it's unconscious to you, then that part of you is not living, it's dead. You're not making a conscious decision that I do need coffee for X, Y, and Z. But if it's a reaction to something, it's unconscious. Conscious means it's coming from the heart, not a mental thing. The mental mind comes in next. Anxiety lives in the mental mind. If one day the cafe, or said cafe, has closed for certain days, a lot of people in the morning will wake up and get very angry, or anxious, or just not getting that fix they're looking for. Getting the fix, which is also an addiction in any form. It doesn't have to be something you drink. It'd be as simple as an object, a friend, a family, a person, an animal, a plant. Anything can be a contract. However you define the contract is up to you. The world is for you to grow with it, not to make it how you like it to be. The world or life in general is just one single big life. It's been happening for God knows how long. You appeared, and you've got around 100 years, and you will go. You really have no say in what's going on here. You just popped up, and you're gonna go away very quickly soon after. You can plan things for the future too, which is also can cause anxiety for people when as months come by or weeks come by, things are not aligning to that particular goal that you had. Again, a highly mental thing. That's a contract that you've set yourself up 2 to 3 months ago, assuming nothing will change, and if it does change, then it's something bad. It's somehow the world was against you. But really, you were just holding on to something that the world will just pause just for you. And that's something that you have to look into very deeply within yourself. How can you operate with full of light, full of being, without this idea of control of the outside world? The only control that you have or exercise is the one that you have with your emotion, which is the emotional control. When emotional control is given outside of you, that is pretty much slavery. No matter how you put it, it is pretty much slavery. Somebody from the outside, something from the outside, an event from the outside can happen and will affect you emotionally within yourself. Not because it went in and affected you, because you decided for that to affect you. You identified yourself with something that you are and that are somehow one and the same. No. It is, even this body is not even yours, but it is something that you have to take care of it nonetheless. And the control that you have is that emotion, that energy that is literally manifesting itself through your mind and body and whatever you end up creating in this world. And that's why when you're anxious, you can't really do anything. You can't really create anything. It's kind of like your system went through a stuck trying to create something but can't because it doesn't believe in itself, because of anxiety, because whatever you planned was never actually happened. So now you question your ability of planning. The fact of the matter, planning is not something that should be taken as a de facto. Planning is a guide. I would guide myself to go in that direction. It doesn't mean that that direction or that destiny is where you're going to be. It is a direction, it's a path. And within that path that you will exercise, you will probably branch out multiple other paths that you want to come out of it. Certain events can happen. And then you are just going through paths. It's never a destination you really want to go to. That's a conclusion. That's when things just end and die. When you conclude something, it's almost like, okay, what's the next thing you want to conclude? Highly mental process. Life doesn't conclude. It's symbiotic, right? It's not a transaction and ends. It continues to process. Things can die off of the process, but it brings in some other things as well. So you have to look into what really is driving you towards a certain path, and that you are doing it because of the joy that you are experiencing through that process, in that path. It's not so much the conclusion. How many paths have we taken in our lives where the end result wasn't really what we wanted, but it was something very different and took us to other journeys and other paths? We really don't know what's happening tomorrow as much as we can plan our lives and look at the little details. Highly mental world, yes. But when you are interacting with emotional beings, with beings who are driven by actual emotions, whether they know it or not, is highly variable. And because of variability and because of everything around us is driven by these beings, well, life is completely difficult to control. And even if you have no humans, you have no control no matter what anyway, if you were the only one. So it seems to me from a design concept that the idea of just participating in life, enjoying life, trying to understand it a little bit, but really becoming part of it is a knowing experience rather than an understanding experience. Because the control you already have is just yourself, where you want to go, what do you want to experience. But you start identifying yourself with certain things around the world, then you're bonding yourself with that. You become one with it. And you'll find this with everybody. Anybody who is identified as something, like I am a laser engineer, suddenly I'm surrounded by laser lights everywhere. The whole world, my TV, my programs, everything. So I'm deciding how I am looking at this world by identifying myself with it through my perceptions. And people who have a lot of hobbies will similarly open different doors in their life. The fact of the matter is the whole universe is vast and wide, knowledge of in that you can participate in. But as soon as you start identifying with one or two or three, your scope becomes very limited. And because of that scope limitation, sometimes it becomes very hard to know if there's anything outside that scope. And then when you start giving out control to the world, to the universe, to people, now you have even lesser opportunity, ability to take back yourself. To sum it all, what I believe, or not really believe, but from my experiences, is that we're here to explore ourselves, to discover ourselves, almost like reverse engineering yourself. But not in a mental sense, but more of a knowing yourself. Do you know yourself? I'm not saying you understand yourself. For the most part, people trying to understand each other. Understanding each other is just a mental and whatever perceptions they're getting. They're never the person, nor it is you either. It's like having an engineer build me a car, and he would understand every aspect of the car, from the mechanics, electrical, seating, driving, all of that, from a technical, detailed understanding. I may not understand it, but I can drive that car probably better than he does. How? Somehow I start to know the car as a holistic thing. I just know what it can do. I can push it to the limits, where many engineers would say, that will break that will break that, but there's some understandings which is highly detailed that may not capture the holistic sense of what it is. As much as you can see a person, you can look at their eyes, their body, their hands, their mind, and look at everything about them and understand everything about them. But none of them is them, really. None of them will tell you who they are. They'll tell you how they navigate this world a little bit here and there, what they are, what they enjoy, and they may give you some certain hints. So now this world has become a side effect rather than the truth. So when you put yourself outside, thinking it's the truth, anxiety is inevitable. And it's not so much that anxiety is bad. Anxiety is a good sign that you are using the wrong tool for the wrong job. That is all. So when you are going through anxiety, you just realize something about what you are anxious about was never, ever been under your control. And if you really wanted it to be under your control, it's really just ego. And that becomes a more of a master-slave relationship with whatever the thing that you want to have a control over. The only thing that you have is yourself. And the focus that everybody should be focusing on is in themselves. Because when you are 100% yourself, then you are automatically guiding others by simply being who you are, leading whatever you are. If everybody would not want to do that, rather just go out and help directly every single person out there, then really nobody is guiding and nobody's operating at full capacity. So focus on yourself. Bring back all this emotional content that is yours and bring it back to yourself and regain that control and live a moment by moment. Blessings. Thank you for listening. Until next time.